The biggest debate on the internet right now is whether or not the Stranger Things finale was good. I'm Tori, I am a freshman screenwriting major, and I'm here to tell you from a screenwriting major's perspective whether or not the Stranger Things finale was good. There will be spoilers in this video for Stranger Things Season 5. If you have not yet seen it, pause this video, go watch it, and come back. You have been warned. One of the first things that they teach you in film school is the idea of show, don't tell. What this means is that you are not writing a book, you are filming something. So in a book, a character might say, I woke up this morning and put on my pants. In film, the character would simply wake up and put on their pants. This is something that I noticed a lot happening in Stranger Things Season 5, where characters were explaining the plot to each other using different inanimate objects. It appears as the characters saying, this is how things are to the other characters, when really they are saying, this is how things are to the audience. Another example of this that really stuck with me was whenever Henry finally enters that memory of his in the mine, where he gets his powers, and he gets that pain, I believe it's in his hand, and it cuts over to Will, also feeling that pain, and he says something along the lines of, he's scared. A lot of times in film, good writing can be completely destroyed by bad acting, but the same can be said for the opposite. Good acting can be completely destroyed by bad writing. So one of two things happened here. One, the Duffer Brothers were not confident enough in Jamie Campbell Bower to portray the fact that he was scared. Or two, the Duffer Brothers were not confident enough in their audience to pick up on the fact that he was scared. This is something that is seen a lot in kids' films because kids do not have the same media literacy skill that a lot of adults do, and they have to be told specifically what is happening to understand the plot. Stranger Things as a whole is rated TV 14. Stranger Things Season 5 specifically was rated TV mature, so that's 17 and up. If kids are watching Stranger Things, that's fine, but the show is not geared towards kids. To really put this in perspective for you, let's use Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is a really highly regarded TV show and is the highest rated TV show on IMDb. It is also rated TV mature. Now, the plot of Stranger Things and the plot of Breaking Bad cannot really be compared since they're very different, but they have similar ratings. Breaking Bad is praised for its complex storytelling and its original concept. Season 1 of Stranger Things was highly rated for its writing and its original concept. It had lovable characters, it had relatable characters, it had a lot of nostalgia for people growing up in the 80s. Season 5 had tacky dialogue and unnecessary character development. An example of tacky dialogue in Season 5 would be whenever Dustin was being bullied in school at the beginning, and all of his friends come in to kind of save him, but the things that they're saying are so Disney Channel-esque and not anything like what the writing was like in the first 4 seasons. Not to mention the handful of sexual innuendos that they make throughout the show that seemed oddly placed and, again, not anything like the writing in the other 4 seasons of the show. As for unnecessary character development, I'm going to make a point that a lot of people will likely disagree with me on: Will's coming out scene. I don't necessarily believe that that scene needed to happen or needed to happen the way that it did. Will coming out may have been an important part of his character, but that's not how they portrayed it in the show. They portrayed it more as a, hey guys, this is something that we've been building up for a really long time, and we don't want to queerbait people, so here you go. Which is really ironic considering that the Duffer Brothers gave us a really good coming out scene in Season 3 with Robin. Robin's coming out scene was so well received because of how realistic and relatable it was. It was well timed, it wasn't in the middle of anything important happening in the plot. It was intimate, it was with somebody that she was clearly comfortable and she felt she was close enough with to share this personal information with. It had a serious tone to it, and it was important to who she was as a character. Will's coming out scene, on the other hand, was set in the middle of preparation for what was likely supposed to be the biggest battle of the entire series, in front of characters that he had interacted with at most maybe twice in his entire duration as a character. The dialogue was tacky, and overall just the way that it happened was unimportant to his character development. Now let's talk about Will's dialogue and his coming out scene itself. He mentions visions that Vecna showed him that we never got to see, and a bunch of information that is just inherently incorrect that nobody else in the room even seems to mention. This scene was written so badly that it created a conspiracy theory that was very well known amongst fans after the series ended. Now, I'm not going to touch on Conformity Gate really at all, because I thought that the theory itself was incredibly far-fetched, and I'm filming this on January 8th after the theory has been essentially debunked. Going back to that, let's talk more about plot holes. I'm not going to touch on every single plot hole in Stranger Things because that would take way too long and I don't have that much time, but I do want to mention a few of the bigger ones that have kind of stuck with me. Why did Max graduate? How did Max graduate? She was in a coma for 1.5 years, and somehow she's able to graduate on time with everybody else. Not to mention the fact she awoke from said coma completely fine. She had her bones broken in half and her eyes essentially gouged out, but she's fine. And I do appreciate that they added that detail of her not being able to use her muscles at first because they hadn't been used for 1.5 years. I do believe that that's realistic. But then where was the realism with the rest of what happened to her character? The second thing I want to talk about is the Turnbow family. For all we know, they could still be tied up in that barn, starved to death. We never saw them again after they took Derek away from them. And the third and most important plot hole that I would like to talk about. Why does nobody care that Hopper isn't dead? Main characters that had not seen him since he died and did not know that he did not die have absolutely zero reaction to seeing him perfectly alive and well. Not to mention, in the epilogue, he's chief of police again. The entire city of Hawkins thought that he died. I guess after the fight with Vecna, he just waltzed into the police station and said, "Just kidding. I'm not actually dead. I never actually died. You guys got pranked." Speaking of Hopper dying, why did Hopper not stay dead? My second biggest issue with Stranger Things as a whole is the lack of stakes. It got to the point for me in season 5 where I felt like if anybody in the party died, it would have felt forced. It would not have felt important to the plot in any way, shape, or form. When you have a genre like Stranger Things, where people are fighting paranormal, supernatural beings, people have to die. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but from a story perspective, people have to die. In Drew Gooden's most recent video, he kind of talks about Stranger Things season 5, and he mentions the fact that whenever the Demogorgons show up, they can kill 15 background people in 10 seconds, but as soon as they're face to face with any of the main characters, it's like they have this force field around them protecting them. Doing that does not create suspense, which with a genre like thriller and horror, which is what you could consider Stranger Things, that is exactly what you want. That is what that genre is centered around, is being scared and suspense. We got a tiny taste of this suspense in season 4 whenever Eddie died, but my problem with that is that Eddie was introduced as a character at the beginning of the season that he died in. We had essentially no time to really get to know him and care about him as a character. Dipping into my personal opinion for a couple seconds here, I believe that in season 4, instead of Eddie dying, it should have been Steve. I love Joe Keery. I am a big Joe fan. I went and saw his concert in Philadelphia in May of 2025, and I had a great time, but that's besides the point. But in the first couple seasons, the Duffer Brothers were planning on killing off Steve in the first place. They kept him because he was such a popular character. Whenever you do things like that, your audience builds up this safety fence around this character, thinking, oh, well, this character is so popular, they wouldn't kill him off. That is the exact type of character that you should kill, because whenever your audience builds up that false safety fence, when you kill that character, that entire fence comes crashing down. So anytime any of your main characters are face to face with a monster, there is no safety fence there, thus creating suspense and thrill and horror. The last thing that I kind of want to touch on about the finale is Elle's ending. I think that sometimes those kind of believe what you want endings can be good. In this case, I don't think so. They have spent 10 years writing the plot for this, just for them at the end to be like, well, I don't know. What do you think happened? How about you tell me what happened? Overall, I think that the show ended with a lot of unanswered questions, a weird switch in the writing style from the beginning seasons to season 5, and a lot of just overall disappointment. If any sort of alternative ending should come out by the time I'm filming this, that is even more disappointing, because I would rather you write something good the first time than have to make up for it in the end because you wrote something bad. Anyway, that was my perspective on Stranger Things Season 5 as someone who is actively going to school for film. If there's anything else that you would like me to review or talk about, I would be happy to do so. Just leave me a comment and I will get to it eventually.